DreAllDay.com.
What up, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. We're here at the Q&A. This is Q&A number 65. It's a weekly thing we do here on this channel where I take all the questions and comments from the previous week's Q&A. I read and respond to them live on video, and this video that you're watching becomes the next Q&A. So if you want your questions answered, you leave them in the comments to this video, but make sure you're not asking me the same questions from the previous week or the week before that, because then I won't answer them. So make sure you watch this video so you see what's being asked. So if you got a question, you ask me something that hasn't been asked, or you might get your question answered by somebody else's question here. So let's get right into the Q&A here. Again, I go through these one at a time. It's one question per person. Let's get started. First question is coming from Nathaniel X. He says, I don't think you're the type of player who would dunk or do a 360 or under the leg dunk in games, although you can, because I think you would say something like 2 points is 2 points and it doesn't matter how you score. But when you were younger, did you ever think dunking was spectacular in games, or where you were open and fast break, is this something you would do? Or did you hate this because you don't like the show and the entertaining stuff when it comes to dunking in games? Big fan of your work. Keep up the good work, Dre. Well, Nathaniel, I don't think you know me as well as you think you do, because in my earlier days, like when I say between the ages of 18 to about 24, when my main thing was athleticism and that was like my calling card, that's all I wanted to do was get as many dunks as possible, because dunks, even though a dunk is 2 points the same as a layup, a dunk makes you stand out. A dunk gets you attention, and a dunk makes people remember you. So when I went to my first professional exposure camp when I was, how old was I? I was 23 at the time. I went to my first exposure camp, and that was before I had even gotten into pro basketball. The thing that made me stand out at that camp was that I had a bunch of dunks. I was getting dunks in those games, and the coaches, the agents, the scouts who were there watching, they remembered me because of the dunks. Now, if all those dunks had been layups, nobody would have remembered it, because anybody can make a layup. Not everybody can dunk. So I was dunking in traffic. I was dunking on people. I was throwing it off the backboard. I tried to throw off the backboard once, and I didn't even get the dunk. But it was the athleticism that made me stand out. And then when I started my pro career, it was the same thing. The athleticism was what made people remember me. So I do definitely believe in doing the dunks to get the show as part of it. As long as you make the dunk, nobody's going to complain about you dunking. Now, you try to do a fancy dunk and miss, then you're going to get cursed out by the coach. You might get benched and people are going to laugh at you. But if you make the dunk, that can definitely help you. It can help people remember your name, remember your face, remember your game. Even if you only had 2 points and that was your only 2 points, that one crazy dunk, everybody's going to remember you because you had that dunk. Next question. Brazan Abdullah says, what's the best way to shoot threes without messing up your shooting form, because he's weak, and when he shoots threes, he gives a slight push, which messes up his form? Where's the thing? You need to improve your overall total body strength. There's not a one exercise or one muscle that you work on to improve your strength. Brazan, what you need to do is improve your overall total body strength, and I have a program for that. It's called The Ultimate Athlete. It's a 15-week program available at hoophandbook.com, and it focuses on total body strength. It gives you a foundational base of strength, which uses your body weight. Is all functional strength for basketball, specifically made for basketball players. It's written by my strength and conditioning coach, performance coach. Her name is Maria Solon-Scally, and that's the perfect program for you to build that base of strength, your foundation of strength. Then you can actually move on to the position of power, which is a strength training program, which is based on using weights, using equipment, using an actual facility. Ultimate Athlete, you need no equipment, no weights, no facility. You could do it at home, on the porch, you could do it in the basement, you could do it on the front lawn. Next question, Michael Patterson. If I got invited to the show Shark Tank, what would I present? Well, if I had a product or a business that I wanted Shark Tank to invest in, then I would apply for Shark Tank, and then if they invited me, I would present that business. But right now, I have not applied for Shark Tank, so I wouldn't get invited because I haven't applied. Now, the only other way I get invited is if they wanted me to be an investor. But I don't think I'm famous or rich enough yet, so we'll have to wait to see. Next question. Thomas Drew says, how do you go about creating or gaining a larger following on social media such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc. to promote yourself and establishing a brand? Well, that's a very loaded question there, Thomas. I think the first thing you need to do is figure out, what is your hook? What's the thing about you that's going to get people interested? Why should people care about you? And the great thing about social media is that you could do anything that you want. You could talk about basketball. You could just be a funny guy. You could post crazy pictures. You could talk about sneakers. You could talk about clothes. You could talk about hats. You could talk about food, different things about nutrition, different things about water, different alcohol you like to drink, going to clubs. You can review restaurants. You can talk about furniture. You can talk about different types of technology that came out, different equipment, review a new cell phone that came out, talk about the new stylish sunglasses. You can talk about anything that you want, because there are people out there who care about that thing. But the first thing you had to do is figure out, what is your hook? What is it that gets people interested in you? And then use whatever medium is best for that. With basketball, of course, YouTube's great because people got to see you actually out there playing. If you're a person who's like a photographer, then you're going to use something like Instagram a lot, because Instagram is all about photos. If you're a person who likes to tell jokes, then you could use something like Instagram. You could also use YouTube. You could also use Twitter, because you can write about them. And of course, you can use all the mediums you want, no matter what you do, if you have different ways of expressing yourself. You have a blog. You can write about things. Even a basketball player can write. I publish over 3,000 blog posts on my website, dreallday.com. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. But the number one thing you got to do, first thing you got to do, Thomas, is figure out what it is that you're going to bring to the table that gets people interested in you. Next question. Malvin Kai Bafor says, I'm interested in getting a Hoop Handbook program, but how do I decide which one to get? Do I pick by position, by style, by favorite player, or the player I want to emulate? The thing is, Malvin, you figure it out based on what players' skills would you most like to add to your skill set. So let's say if you want to be a guard who can handle the ball, finish from the outside, make shots from the outside off the dribble, get to the basket and finish over bigger defenders and finish without being a super explosive guy, Stephen Curry is a great program for that. Allen Iverson's another one. Even Baron Davis, even though Baron Davis has some dunking in his. Tony Parker's another guy. Damian Lillard's another guy. So it's not, you don't want to choose it by position necessarily. You want to choose it by skill, because positions don't really matter like that. What matters in basketball is skill. Because if you come into a gym and you tell the coach, I play all 5 positions, and you have no skill, you're not going to make the team. But if you come into the gym and tell the coach, hey, I play 1 position, and you have a lot of skill, you'll make the team. So it's not about position. You choose it by skill. What skills do you want to have in your game is the first question you answer. And then you pick the player program based on those skills. And he's referring to the NBA signature workout programs, which we have at hoophandbook.com, which are based on the games of your favorite NBA players. And we also have skill programs, which are based on certain skills, such as driving moves, scoring moves, undersized scoring moves, post moves, etc. Next question. Jabel says, my school is mostly known for football and not basketball. Many of our players go D2 or D3. How do I think he can get enough exposure to go D1? He's about to be a junior. Well, you don't have to go get exposure, Jabel. What you need to do is improve your performance, and exposure finds you. Exposure is not something that you go out and seek. Exposure is something that you attract by being who you are. Now, you're a basketball player. You want exposure to go to a D1 school. You need to prove that you have D1 game, which means you need to get a coach who works at a D1 school to be able to look at you and say, this guy can play at our level. He's the player that we want. And that's all about your performance. There's no gimmicks for it. There's no social media trick for it. There's no video magic you can do, editing video magic. You got to play the game at a level that makes people believe that. So that is all in your performance. That's not anything you had to go chase. That's something that you do, and they find you. Next question. Dante Washington says, if LeBron, Kevin Durant, Carmelo, and Dre Baldwin played in the game of every man for themselves, pick up the 33, who wins? I don't know. We got to set the game up. You set that game up, tell me when and where, and I'll come play. Next question. Stephen B says, well, I'll put more vids on the Dre Stories channel. For those who don't know, the Dre Stories channel is a channel where I tell stories that's not so much basketball related. And yes, the answer to his question, yes, Stephen, I will put more vids out. Whenever I think of one, I put one out. So it's not on any type of regular schedule. Just whenever I think of something, I'll record it and put it out. So when next one I think of, you'll see another vid. Just subscribe to that channel, so when I put it out, you'll see it. Next, Top Notch Sports says, do you ever consider doing a video with B-Ball Breakdown? I think you guys had the 2 best basketball channels on YouTube, but yours is better though. Well, thanks, Top Notch Sports. B-Ball Breakdown is run by Coach Nick, and me and Coach Nick have had several conversations about a lot of different things. One of them was doing a Q&A video together, or some type of video together, since he's in LA and I'm in Miami, so physically we couldn't physically meet up. We never met in person before. But yes, that conversation has happened, and why it has not happened yet, the actual video, that's 100% on Coach Nick. I've sent him questions, I've told him how we can do it, and he just doesn't get around to doing it. So if y'all want to see a video between Dre All Day and B-Ball Breakdown, y'all go holler at Coach Nick, let him know what y'all want to see, tell him what he need to do, tell him to respond to the questions that I sent him in 2013, and then we get the video done. Now, he hasn't done it, so if y'all want to see it, he got to do his half of it. I did my part, but you got to see what he want to do. Next question. Nas CYMR says, what's your career high in points? In the pros, my career high is 39, or we say 40. If somebody scored 39, we just say 40. So I say 40, but it was 39. And in any league, rec league, I scored 60. Next question. Jake Gifford says, I'm 14, I'm growing rapidly, I'm now 6'2". How can I keep my legs coordinated and boost my agility? Well, keep your legs coordinated, Jake, is that you just had to keep using your legs, which means as long as you get up and walk every day, your legs will stay coordinated. It's not like you can't walk up and down the steps, right? I guess you're talking about basketball. Just keep training, keep playing basketball, keep working out in your sport, and your body will grow into it as you keep training. So you don't want to stop training because you're growing. That wouldn't make sense, right? And then your body wouldn't be able to know what to do when you start training again if your body has changed. And since you're growing, your body is changing. So as long as you keep training as your body is training, is the same way as if you were strength training. As your body is growing, rather, as your body is changing. As long as you keep working out and playing your sport as your body changes, your body will adjust by itself. As far as boosting your agility, I'll give you two suggestions. Number one, look at the speed and quickness playlist on my channel. And number two, look at the Ultimate Athlete program at hoophandbook.com. Next, Oscar Lopez says, what would I say is the most comfortable basketball shoe? Your videos are amazing. I use them to improve my game. Well, thank you, Oscar. The most comfortable basketball shoe right now, the ones that I wear right now, I would say the LeBron Zoom Soldier 8s. And number two would be the Jordan 29s. But number one, LeBron Zoom Soldier 8, most comfortable. Next, Abdul Mansare says, who are my top MVP candidates and who do I think will go to the finals? As far as MVP, someone just asked me this last week, but I guess since more games happen, I guess the answer could change. So I'll address this again. Stephen Curry was my pick, I think, last time, and I said I could see James Harden getting it. This week, my pick is James Harden, because James Harden has carried the Rockets. I think they're the number 3 seed in the West as of today when I'm recording this video. I record on Fridays, published on Saturday. James Harden has really carried that team without any other All-Stars. Dwight Howard didn't make All-Star this year, but even if we consider him an All-Star, he's missed a lot of games this year and hasn't even been that great when he has played. Stephen Curry has an All-Star on his team in Klay Thompson. He's got, I think, a better team around him than James Harden does. And in Steph Curry's defense, the Warriors had the best record in the league at home and the best record in the league, period. They'll be the number 1 overall seed probably in the playoffs. So there's a strong case for both of them, but right now I'll go with Harden simply because he's done more with less than Steph Curry has. So I'll go with Harden. Russell Westbrook, I don't think he's going to win it simply because he missed so many games. And Steph and Harden have played in all the games. And Steph and Harden's teams are better than Russell Westbrook's team. I know that has something to do with his injuries, but hey, those are the facts. Next question. Mason Riley says, when you walk up to a defender, what do you look at and what moves do you do based off how the defender is set up? When I walk up to a defender, I'm on offense, I don't look at anything. I see everything. So it's different between looking at something and seeing things, because I can see everything that's going on around me. So I can see the defender, I can see the ref, I can see the fans, I can see the basket, I can see all the other players on the court. I'm not looking at anything specific. So what I would do is basically read the floor. And that could be where the help defenders are, where my teammates are, if somebody's coming to set a screen, where I am on the floor. Now, if a defender is playing me a certain way, I may take advantage of that, I may not. If a defender's trying to take me away from going one direction, I may go that direction anyway because I'll have him beat because he can't turn his body fast enough. Or I may take the opening he's trying to give me. But you got to remember that you need to have the skills to do those things based on how a defender's playing you. But I don't base my moves on what a defender's doing. The defender bases his defense on what I do. So the offensive player, you always dictate what's going to happen. Because if you need to get to a certain spot and the defender's trying to keep you from getting there, a great offensive player will still get to the spot he wants to get to no matter what the defense does. Next question. Worm Chemistry says, do you feel you are the best player on every team you play for overseas? Yeah, I do feel I was the best player. And in general, if you're an American player, you're going to play overseas. In general, it's not every single team, but in general, you better be the best player on the team if you're going to stay on that team for long. Next question. Mateo Carey. So I know this question is somewhat stupid and based off genetics, but I'm 14 and 5'11". Is there any way I can get taller? Any specific workouts? No, Mateo, there is no way that you can make yourself taller by working out. If there was anything that someone could do to make themselves grow taller, we would all be doing it. There is no way, so you're stuck with what you got. So focus on what you can control, which is your skill, your effort, and your attitude. Next question. Casey Williams says, he's 5'9", he's 14, he's a point guard. He wants to try out for this national basketball team. He's trying to figure out if he should try out as a point guard or a shooting guard. Which spot do I think he should try out for? Well, Casey, it doesn't really matter because if you can play, the team's going to pick you. Coaches don't pick players saying, all right, well, he plays. It's not like if I'm the coach of a team, right, and I need 10 players. So let's say I got 9 guys already and 4 of them are power forwards. And then another guy walks in the gym, he's a power forward, and he's one of the best players in there. Am I going to tell him, no, you can't make the team because I already got too many power forwards? No, I'm going to pick him up because he's one of the best players in the gym. And I'll figure out a way to make it work. So coaches pick players based on who can play first, then they figure out how they're going to work together second. So it's not like you got to try out for a certain position like, oh, okay, well, you're great at 2 guard, Casey, but since you came in and told us you were a point guard, you can't make the team. That's not how it works. If Kobe Bryant goes to a team and he tries out as a center, and they're going to pick Kobe up because Kobe can play. All right, that's why he's going to make the team, because he can play. And then they're going to say, all right, Kobe, we know you came here and told us you were a center, but we're going to try you at 2 guard because that's where we think you work best. And then they'll make it work. So it's not like we choose by position. We choose by who can play. Then you get chosen based on how it works with the team once we had a framework of the team. Next question. Sat Dead says, videos are inspiration to me. I read your book. It was a great book. My book, Buy a Game, which you can get at dreallday.com/buy-a-game. Well, thank you, Sat Dead. And he says, I mentioned in the book that when I got cut from a certain team that I doubted I would never play again in my life. And he has the same problem now. He's 18. He tried out for a team in college. He's a freshman. He got cut. And now he's starting again. He says, will he be able to actually regain his skills, or is he starting from the very beginning? Well, Sat There, there's only one way to find out the answer to that. You got to go and do the work and find out. I can't predict what's going to happen to you. You got to do the work, and then you'll get the answers. Answers only come before work in the dictionary. I know that cliche they say. Usually they're talking about success only comes before work in the dictionary, but it's the same thing with answers. You can't get the answer to what is going to be the result of your work until you do the work. So do the work, and then you'll see the results. Next question. Harry Howard says, Dre, you're from Philly. Why don't you support the 76ers? Well, I don't support any team NBA-wise. I'm not a fan of any team specifically. I'm a fan of players, and I'm a fan of good basketball in general. So if there's a good game going on and the Sixers happen to be one of the teams playing in it, I'll support that game in general. I'll watch that game, but I don't support any specific team. I just watch the game because I like watching good players and good basketball. Johnny Football says, he just found out about the 10,000 hour theory. Does your mind really unlock when you hit the 10,000 hour mark? Well, it's not really that your mind unlocks. It's not like a ceremony that happens, Johnny. It's not like you wake up one day and you're like, oh man, now I know everything because I've done 10,000 hours. First of all, majority of people, I'll speak for the majority because I know I've hit 10,000 hours in basketball. You don't even know how many hours it's been. It's only when I started thinking about it, when I read this in a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, who's a great author, by the way. When I read it in this book, I thought about it, like, you know, I have done 10,000 hours of basketball. But it's not like anything automatically just happens and now all of a sudden you know everything. It doesn't happen like that. It gradually you build up a knowledge base because you have so much experience. That's pretty much all it is. Experience equals knowledge. The more experience you have, the more things you've seen. You've gone through the failures, you've gone through the successes, and you've seen a lot of stuff. So you're able to react to things and you have that knowledge. Next question. Barack says, Dre, is there anything wrong with playing freshman ball? I wouldn't see anything wrong with it. You would have to ask me a more specific question if you think something's wrong with it, which is I'm guessing why you're asking. Next, Angel Despain says, I love your stories about you versus the N1 players. You should keep sharing them. I will. And he says, my question is, I know you told us to focus only on ourselves, but he saw the McDonald's All-American game and it is his dream to play in it. He was wondering what type of mindset does he need for not being intimidated by competition. Well, the mindset that you need for not being intimidated, well, you asked me what's the mindset to have a mindset. Not being intimidated is a mindset. So what you need, Angel, is not either one. What you need is to focus so much on your game that you become such a good player that you don't even care who the competition is. That's the mindset that you need. And that mindset only comes from you having the actual game. That's not something you trick yourself into. That's something you work yourself into. So you do the work, you get the experience to the point that you have so much game, so much confidence in your abilities that no matter where you go, if I just drop you down anywhere on the mat in any gym, no matter who's in there, you say, I know I can play with whoever's in this gym. I don't care who's in here. I know I can hold my own. That's the level that you need to get yourself to. Next question. Rishi Sankavili says, I know you played college ball. I'm curious to know what you majored in, whether you think it helped you in your job life. By the way, thanks to the previous advice, and he will get the ultimate athlete as soon as he saves up enough money. All right, well, you're welcome, Rishi. And he says, what did I major in college? I majored in business with a focus in marketing and management. Do I feel like that helped me in my business life outside of college and or after college? I think it looks like it did, because as far as marketing goes and as far as personal branding and things like that, yeah, I'm an expert in those things. But did I learn any of that in college? No. The reason why I say no, because there's nothing that I do now when we're talking about, if you look at YouTube, or you look at people who have websites, you look at DreAllDay.com, you look at the Work on Your Game brand and Dre All Day brand, and all the stuff that we're doing with this new media, all this stuff is brand new stuff. No college professor knows anything about this. They can't teach this. They don't teach this in college. They don't know nothing about this. If there was a class on personal branding at a university, I'm qualified to teach that. I'm overqualified to teach that class. And ain't no college professor who can teach it. You know why? Because none of them have done it. You can't teach something that you haven't done. And one problem that I have on a side note with the American educational system is you have people teaching things they haven't even done. Like, I majored in business. So if I want to be a business person, how you going to learn business from a person who has a job teaching school? It's the complete opposite. A person who runs a business is the owner. Like, you own the business and you run the business in a way so it's profitable and you get whatever results you want. But if you work somewhere, you work for a company, if you work for a school, that's not the same as owning a business. It's two different things. So how is somebody who works at a job going to teach how to run a business? That makes no sense, right? That makes no sense whatsoever. So once I realized that when I was in college, and when I realized that, I just stopped listening to my professors. I did enough work so that I could graduate and get the degree so I could have that next to my name, because there are people out there in the world today who are impressed by that. So I figured, since I'm here, I might as well get the degree. But there's nothing that those professors in college can teach me. I could be teaching them if they want to learn this, because they don't know nothing about this because they haven't done it. Next question. Our old Marmolejo says, I want to thank you for introducing me to the book 48 Laws of Power. It helped me out in a lot of off-the-court stuff, on the court as well. And then his question is, when you started your channel, did you look at it as a long-term thing? And were you like, if people listen, good. If they don't, I don't care. How did you look at it? Did it drive you more after your numbers went up? Well, first of all, Raul, I applaud you for actually reading the 48 Laws of Power, because I know people personally, so I don't even know you, but I know people personally who ask me for book recommendations. I tell them things, and then they do nothing with the information. They don't read the books. They don't read the blog posts. They don't listen to the audios. They do nothing with the information after asking me for help. So for you to take that information and actually go use it, I appreciate you for doing that. So you should appreciate yourself for reading that book. As for your question, when I started on YouTube, no, I didn't start it off as I was aiming to build a brand on YouTube. The funny thing is, I know a lot of you watch me on YouTube. All of you haven't even been to my website, DreAllDay.com. My original idea was to build my brand through writing, because YouTube didn't even exist when I was in college. When I was in college, I knew I wanted to have a website, but as far as putting video on the internet, nobody knew about that. I graduated from college in 2004. YouTube came out in like 05, 06. Nobody knew about that. So we was just like, well, not we, me. I knew I wanted to have a website back as early as like 2002. I didn't know what it was going to be about or what was going to be on it. I knew it was going to be about me and by me and maybe just for me. And I was going to do a lot of writing. And those of you who don't know, I do a lot of writing. As far as Hoop Handbook, we got over 100 programs on that site, and I published 5 different books. So I still do a ton of writing, but more people know me for the videos. The videos are just more easy to digest than a book, because you can watch a video in 10 minutes, but it might take you 10 months to read a book, some people. So I've still published over 3,000 posts on my website, blog posts, and over 4,000 videos here on YouTube. So the main thing originally was just writing. YouTube just came along. I published my first YouTube video. It was a video of the first exposure camp I went to. First pro camp I went to was a video that went to YouTube. That was my first vid. I would just put that up for myself, and people was watching it. I don't know why they were watching it, because they didn't know who the hell I was. And then when I got my first digital camera, I started taking it to the gym and then just recording me doing the workouts that I was doing anyway. And I put a couple of those on YouTube, and people start commenting like, yo, who are you? Where you play at? Who taught you? Where you come from? Who you play for now? Where you going? What school did you go to? So people start asking me all these questions like, yo, can you do this? Can you talk about dribbling? Can you talk about shooting free throws? Can you do a drill on how to dunk? Can you teach me how you did this, that, and the third? And that's how the YouTube thing came about, just from responding to the comments people were leaving. But I wasn't expecting that. It just kind of happened organically. Good question. Next question is buckets. How do I get ranked? Well, you get ranked by somebody who does rankings, seeing you and putting you in their rankings. That's pretty much all there is to it. D Tall says, Dre, I'm a 2-guard. I'm a good ball handler, but in games when teams press full court, I panic and get turnovers. Any tips or advice? Here's a good thing you can do, D Tall. You grab a friend, you and somebody else who plays a similar position to you or similar in game style, and you say, all right, let's do a game. You play offense, they play defense. And you tell them, you play defense, you stay between me and the basket. I'm going to dribble from baseline to baseline, you try to knock the ball away. If you knock the ball away, you on defense, you get a point. If you get from baseline to baseline without getting the ball knocked away or turned over, you get a point. First person to 10 points wins. So when you get from baseline to the other baseline, now you go on defense, they go on. So whoever wins gets that point, and we go to 10. The loser runs the suicide. And y'all can just keep doing that over and over again. That could be your whole workout right there. And you can't do no fast breaks. So you can't like get around a guy and then just go as fast as you can while he's running behind you, because that's a waste of time. You got to let the defender stay between you and the baseline, and you just got to dribble the ball without him knocking it away while he's playing D on you. So no, like, don't turn it into a track meet. Make it y'all working on your handle and working on your D at the same time, and the loser got to run the suicide. Next question. Dennis Broom says, I'm 17. I've been playing basketball since I was 12. He says, the place where he lives, there's not a lot of opportunities. He comes from a small town in Germany. He says basketball is his life. He wants to do great things. He wants to make it to the NBA, but he needs my advice because he has difficulties in his career. Well, Dennis, here's the thing. First of all, you got to stop the negative self-talk. Every time you point out all these negative things, you're reiterating them in your mind, and you're making them stronger in your mind, and that's weakening you. So you have to stop using negative self-talk, because it's not going to help you get anywhere that you want to go. You want to get somewhere positive, you got to start using positive self-talk. You can look at your community, wherever you are. There's a small town, there's not many opportunities. I get it. I've heard that many times from many different people, and I don't doubt you. But if you want to get somewhere, you got to stop focusing on the things you don't want, which is the lack of opportunity, the small town, nobody else being serious about basketball, you not having anybody else around you, all these negatives. Stop focusing on them and focus on the things you do want. What do you want? You want to play in the NBA. You want to get more opportunity. You want to move up in basketball. So why don't we focus on the first specific one? You want to move up in basketball. If you ask every single person you know, and you probably know 1,000 people, well, let's just say if you ask 200 people you know the exact same question, hey, I want to go to a higher level in basketball. What can I do right now that will get me to a higher level? If you ask 200 people that question, I guarantee at least one of them is going to give you some useful information, useful and actionable information you can use right now. The only challenge is, number one, are you willing to ask 200 people? And number two, are you willing to keep going after people tell you no? And no could be in different forms. It could be leave me alone. It could be somebody ignoring your question. It could be somebody saying you're crazy. That doesn't happen. It could be somebody saying you're not good enough. Why do you want to do that? All those are forms of no. So are you willing to keep going after you get the no? And number two, are you willing to keep asking as many people as possible in order for you to get the yes, which is somebody saying something like, oh, this is what you can do. Oh, I know this guy. Oh, you go try out for this team. Oh, hey, talk to my dad. Or, hey, I know my cousin played basketball. Let me put you on the phone with him. That's a yes. Are you willing to ask 200 people and go through the no in order to get to the yes? That's the question you got to ask yourself. Next question. C. Iron says, what's your personal opinion on AAU basketball? I don't have a personal opinion on it. I don't watch AAU. I don't watch high school ball. I don't watch college ball. So if you ask me something specific about it, I can tell you what I think. But just overall AAU, I have no opinion. Next question. Keshab Nara says, Dre, I'm having trouble finishing at the rim against bigger defenders. I can't finish layups or floaters. Do I have any tips or drills that I posted that I can tell him? Well, Keshab, first of all, figure out what do you want to be able to do. You want to make layups and floaters against bigger defenders. So all you need to do is search that on my channel and you'll see videos on it. You want to work on layups and floaters, just search Dre Baldwin layup, Dre Baldwin floater. You'll see a couple hundred drills. So yes, you can do those drills. That'll develop the skills you need. If you're looking for something more specific, go to hoophandbook.com. I got 2 programs called Undersized Player Scoring and Creating Program, Part 1 and Part 2. As far as NBA signature workout programs, look at players who finish in the paint against bigger defenders, who are not necessarily jumping over and dunking on guys. Chris Paul, Kyrie Irving, Stephen Curry, Allen Iverson, Tony Parker, Damian Lillard. I'm not saying these guys can't dunk, but most of their points are not dunks, but they still finish at the basket. You can use that to your advantage by getting those programs and working on those skills. Justin Morin says, Dre, I love the vids. I'm about to buy the Hoop Handbook off-court package with Ultimate Athlete and Position of Power. Can I use them both at the same time, or should I finish one and start the next? What you should do is do one at a time. Do Ultimate Athlete first, Position of Power second. The reason you do Ultimate Athlete first is because it gives you a foundational base of functional strength with your body and specifically for basketball. Position of Power is a strength training program which focuses on using weights, equipment, and facilities. So you want to graduate from Ultimate Athlete, then do Position of Power. Do not do both at the same time. That's too much training for one person. Next question. Q-Man Christ the King says, do I think Armin Gilliam, who was one of my college coaches, felt like he was the man and he knew everything being a number 2 draft pick? Well, I don't think it had anything to do with him being a number 2 draft pick. If any of you read my book, Buy a Game, you'll know what he's referring to. So you can go to my website and you can read my book for free. The reason that, well, first of all, Armin Gilliam was the man. It didn't have nothing to do with him being a draft pick. It had him to do with the fact that he was a coach. And in college, the coach is the man. No player is the man in college. No player has control in college. The coach is the person with final first say, last say, and all the say in between. And when the coach makes something say, that's it. There's no debate. There's no vote. It's not a democracy. There's nobody to appeal to. It's over. So he was the man, but it didn't have anything to do with him being the number 2 pick in the draft. Swaggy Mamba says, Dre, without revealing all the players in your next batch of Hoop Handbooks, can you give us the theme of the players in it, such as old school, 80s, or 90s, etc.? Well, first of all, Swaggy, there's no secret. It's not a government secret who's going to be in the next batch of handbooks. We're working on about 30 to 35 new programs right now, and there is no theme. So it's not like all old school or all 80s or all 90s or all anything. They're all different players from different eras and different types of players. So if you ask me about a specific player, I can tell you yes or no if they're in the batch. But if they're an all-star player or close to it, I'm probably working on a program for them right now. Next question. Anthony Titus says, in your personal experience, do you feel like you lost strength when you were getting leaner? Well, first of all, Anthony, you got to ask me when it was that I was getting leaner. I've been alive for a long time, so I would have to know specifically what time period you're talking about, then I could probably answer. But in general, I'd probably say no. I mean, even if someone gets leaner, you can still have all the strength as long as you keep training for strength. You might not have as much body weight or mass, whatever person you're talking about, and still have the strength. If you look at somebody like someone who all you can relate to, you watch a Kobe, when he slimmed down a little bit for the 2008 Beijing Olympics, I think he still had the strength, or maybe he had to regain some strength, maybe after he lost some weight, who knows. But you can still have the strength even if you lose weight. You just got to make sure you keep training for strength. Strength is not related to body size. It's related to what you're actually capable of doing with your body. Next question. David DeLucci says, I'm kind of struggling with driving moves and shooting moves because his handle's not that good. And if a defender's on him, they might be able to steal the ball. So what I recommend that he does the handling drills fast and hard, and then work on driving and shooting later, like work his way up to doing that. And he plays point guard. He's getting ready for high school, so he needs those moves and the handle so he can beat a defender. Well, David, what you need to do is work on both at the same time, so you incorporate them. So you can, let's say if you had an hour to practice, you could spend 30 minutes working on your handle and then spend another 30 minutes working on driving moves and shooting moves. So you don't have to separate them completely. It's not like you need to work on your handle only for 3 months and then all of a sudden work on driving and shooting moves. Do both at the same time. If you want to work on your handle, spend some time working on your ball handling, and then, because the only reason you handle the ball is to do two things, either score or pass. It's the only two things you could do with the ball. You can dribble it, you can shoot it, you can pass it. So since you're already dribbling and you're probably not passing anybody because you're practicing by yourself, I'm assuming that you need to shoot the ball. You need to work on the handle and the shot at the same time. So get your handle working, and when you do the driving and shooting moves, you're dribbling the ball to do them anyway. So you're working on your handle at the same time anyway, but you can incorporate all those together. That's what you need to do. Last question, Nathan Carter says, Dre, how can I put English on my layup and how can I practice it? I have a video for that. Nathan, if you go to the search bar up at the top, just type in Dre Baldwin and the word English, and you'll see the tutorial on how to put English on your layups. That's it for the questions this week. Thank you everybody for coming through with the questions. Y'all keep coming with the good ones. Next week will be Q&A number 66. So any questions you got for me, you leave them in the comments to this video, which is 65. One question per person. Don't respond to another person's question, please. And I'll address all those next week on a Q&A. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com. Checking out this video. Make sure you follow all my top content up here. Follow me on all your favorite social networks right over here. And make sure you are subscribed to catch all the new content I put on this channel every single day. Work on your game.